Hello. Hi, Frit. And Liam. Wait, let me put this back to full screen. I had it on windowed so I could do other things on my other monitor without it, like, disappearing. Hey, Dan. How's it going? Hi, Fire. Hi, Rumham. Right, there are already more people here than I was actually expecting to, like, come to this. I was kind of expecting to stream to nobody, because the game is, like, not the most popular game in the world, but... Cool. Hi, Pixel. Yeah, so I guess I could start. So, like, it's Blocktober, so I wanted to show... I, like, found a bunch of old, like, builds of the game. Or I didn't find them. I, like, browsed through the git commit history to find, like, a bunch of cool, like, milestones, I guess. And so I'm gonna show them today, because I think, like, the amount the game changed since then is kind of cool. Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna go through today, but first... I'm gonna go in here. So if you haven't played the game, I think most of you have, like, played the game. If you haven't played the game, I'm gonna go in here, which is, like, major spoiler. So avert your eyes if you haven't been in here. You advertised Sensorium to a coworker today? That's cool. Liam, the speedrunning Discord moderator, has played Sensorium once. That's good news. Alright, I'm going into the Dev Museum. The reason I'm going into the Dev Museum is because this was, like, the earliest point of Sensorium, which, like, I'm not gonna show a build of this, because I don't have an actual build of this. But I wanted to point out Gold Valley as being, like, the starting point for, like, the idea of Sensorium. Because I just wanted to learn Unreal Engine. And I was like, oh, Unreal is good at, like, first-person stuff, so I guess I'll make a little tiny puzzle game, and my idea for that was Gold Valley. And like I said, I don't have a build of that, but if you do want to play Gold Valley, I made it in Dreams on PS4 and PS5, so if you get Dreams, you can, like, kind of play the Sensorium prototype as it would have been. So I was just gonna point that out. I'm not gonna do that today. If you don't want to get Dreams, I also already have a, like, video of that on my YouTube channel, so you can probably find it if you search for Gold Valley. But yeah, the thing about Gold Valley was it wasn't gonna be like a senses thing. It was just gonna be 3 puzzles. I think the museum even says this. It was, like, gonna be 3 puzzles. Or 3 puzzle areas. One of them was gonna be sound puzzles. One of them was gonna be, yeah, it says here. It's like there was gonna be a sound puzzle area, a symbol translation area, and, like, a physical, sort of logical thinking rather than lateral thinking kind of area. So when I, like, started working on Sensorium, when it was still, like, Gold Valley, I guess I will... Hold on. Can I get to the desktop from here? Actually, I can just do... I can do this. Sensorium, old builds. First map. Okay. So I don't actually have builds of these, I just have the old, like, Unreal projects. I had to, like... to get this to work, I had to go back and download, like, super old versions of UE4. Or it's not, I guess it's not, like, super old, but yeah, so when I was starting to work on, like, Gold Valley, the first of those 3 puzzle areas I decided to try to work on was the, like, physical logical one, which is what this map was. If I hit play and I think this should be working. So this is like the first playable like Sensorium map I made. Or at least the first one that like remotely resembles the game as it is today. So like, first difference is in this map you had buttons you stepped on instead of like clicking them. Which again, I think that was just because I wanted this puzzle area to be like sort of physical, and maybe involve some like platforming or something. And so it felt right to have it you like stepping on the buttons instead of clicking things. But yeah, so that's like how it started out. What were you using before Unreal? Yeah, I made HuBots in Unity, but I didn't really like Unity that much, so I like switched over to Unreal. And now after using Unreal, I kind of like Unity more, but I would much rather like make my own engine, but that takes way too long. Dreams is best game engine, though. But yeah, so in this map I had like, I was experimenting with like logic gates as a puzzle mechanic, and so I have like the AND gates and the buttons, and chaining AND gates together. One thing way back in this build is that like everything activated instantly. So like as soon as I press this button, it just propagates forward through everything like as fast as it can. And I eventually added like a delay and an animation in Sensorium because people were having a hard time like following the more complicated chains. Which I think was a good decision. But yeah, so then in this room it introduces like a different color button, and this is the one you actually have to hold. So like the idea here was like you walk in the room, you just step on this button, you see the door open, you're like, oh, I guess I'll go through the door, and then it closes, and that's how it teaches you about this button. Which Sensorium like does with the buttons you click. Like I think this exact thing happens in Sensorium. There's like a button and a door, and you hold the button, and then when you let go of the button, the door closes. It's like right outside of the touch area, I think. But yeah. In this one, the pacing is all wrong though, because I like introduce this button, and then you do a puzzle that doesn't involve this button, and I introduce this like right after it, which is completely unrelated. But yeah. Also in this build, I guess I made like an actual NOT gate mesh. Which I swapped out. I don't remember why. I think I just felt like this didn't represent a NOT gate very well for people who weren't already familiar with logic gates. So I like swapped it out with an animation that showed what was happening a little better. How long did it take you to get to this point with Unreal? Not that long. I think probably a couple weeks on and off. I don't know. I remember like the programming stuff took me kind of a while to like getting these wires to glow. Actually took me a really long time to figure out like through C++ because they didn't document like dynamic materials very well back then. So like that took me a while. This thing, here's the blue toggle gate thing. I think I can't remember, I think the texture on it is slightly different. Like instead of a line, it's like more of a triangle in the final game that gets filled and empty instead of having like a horizontal and then a vertical line like it does right here. But yeah, so this is why I think the pacing was off, because it like introduces this, and then you've got to do a puzzle that like doesn't involve this, and then it like reintroduces it with the new thing, and it just like isn't that good. This puzzle I think made it into the final game actually. I think this is one of the ones that's like outside of the touch area. Yeah, except again like everything has animations in the final game and stuff. I don't think this one's in the final game, or if it is, it's like, it looks completely different. I think you have to like toggle that thing on and then toggle that off, and then you have to like press this button twice. I don't remember why I cut this. I think I might have just watched people play this and like it was too easy to beat by accident, or they like didn't understand how they were solving it or something. I think that was a pretty consistent problem with like these logic gate puzzles, was like people would they'd like play stuff and then they'd like beat stuff by accident, and then yeah. Anything where you just sort of hit a button X times and it lights up is likely a problem. Yeah. Actually, so in the like in the final game, there is a it's sort of a puzzle. It's like an optional puzzle where you do just literally click the button a bunch of times until you light something up. It had like a chain of these like toggle gates chained together. And you just like click a single button until the door opens. But that was like, since it was optional, it was like, I didn't mind if it was like just a silly little thing to like open a shortcut door or something. So that's where I put it. Also, I'm seeing in OBS the preview is like really choppy. Is the frame rate bad on the stream right now? Because if it says choppy as the OBS preview window is showing, I promise the performance is not that bad. It is very bad. Well, I mean, there's not a lot going on, so hopefully it's not, what's it called? Hopefully you can still get the idea of what's going on. I hope it's not like this for all the builds. It probably will be, actually. If I make it smaller, is this like any better? Oh yeah, that's way better. I could, or I'll finish like this. There are only like 2 more puzzles to show. I'll try just like resizing the window instead of going full screen for the next one. It's fine until you walked into this room, really. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's weird. Huh, okay, well... Alright, we'll just deal with it for like the next 2 puzzles and then we'll figure it out. Anyway, this puzzle, I don't know if you recognize it, but this one is in the final game, like almost exactly like this. Except obviously, again, you don't step on the buttons, you have to like click stuff. I think you do this, and then you do... Turn that off maybe, and then... Gotta turn this... Yeah. So this is like one of the like side areas, the one between hearing and sight. This is like one half of the puzzle to get you into like that secret chamber. And then this is the other half. So I had these 2 puzzles like super early on, and I carried them over all the way until into the final game. This one, I think you go bop, 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 and then you go bop, bop, bop. Yeah. I think, thinking about it more, I think also one of the reasons I made it like stepping on buttons instead of clicking things was so it was easy to keep the entire puzzle like in your view as you were inputting the solution. Because that was also something that was like, quite difficult to balance with the clicking buttons, was keeping everything in view while you're actually looking at the buttons to like press them and stuff. I remember I had a lot of trouble like trying to balance everything that way. But yeah, so that was like the first playable map. There were gonna be more things. It was gonna like go around here. There were gonna be like OR gates and XOR gates and everything. And then at the very end, this is the door you opened with the first, like, switch that you had to hold open. And this was gonna be like a shortcut door where you solve something else and it feeds into the OR gate and opens and keeps the door open, and then you could just, like, walk straight back out. But I think what happened was I had someone play this map and they found it, like, super tedious. And they were like, I don't like this. Like, playing this many, like, logic gate puzzles back to back to back was just super tedious, and this, like, super gray room and everything. And I was like, okay, I'll take a different approach. Yeah, so this was the door that would loop back around, and then you would just, like, exit this way, pretty much. That was the idea. But yeah, so before I decided, like, Sensorium was gonna be, like, about the 5 senses and then have the logic gates as, like, a universal mechanic in the whole game, I was just gonna have a logic gate area, which was what I was prototyping here. And you can see I hadn't figured out the art style yet. Like, I don't have the outline shader and everything. But yeah, so that's the first one. The next one would be, let's see. So I could either go chronologically, or I could go to, like, the tutorial I feel like chronologically makes more sense. I'm gonna go here. I hope this doesn't offend, but the logic gates by themselves were my least favorite part of the game. You need to know the language of them for later, and I loved how you used them in the sense areas, but the basic area felt like it didn't fit everything else on its own. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and, like, playtesting that prototype sort of indicated that it wasn't a strong game mechanic on its own. So I'm definitely glad I, like, because even though they weren't just a puzzle mechanic, like, they were also sort of like a scripting system that I could use to make everything else work. Like, if I wanted an elevator to go up and down on a cycle, I could set up logic gates to do that. And that was also a cool little detail I could add to, like, make it visible how everything was working by making the logic gates visible and stuff. And yeah, like you said, they were sort of a driver for, like, the other senses. Like, it made it easy to set up puzzles for like the other things with, like, a language that could be universally understood within the game. The most memorable single puzzle in the game for me used the logic gates, the audio one. Yeah. I like that puzzle. That I was really happy with that one when I came up with it. Yeah, so speaking of audio puzzles, that's sort of what this build is gonna revolve around. So this is just a test map I made. This was like anytime I would add a new mechanic, I would just stick it in this map and, like, run around and test it and stuff. So, like, I made a timer thing here. This was like a prototype, like, double sound puzzle thing where I had them both on like the machine at the same time. I think this was supposed to be an elevator, but I think elevators are broken in this build because it doesn't work. The other thing about this map that, like, I think is maybe underrated, like, I feel like making a first-person exploration puzzle game is kind of hard. It's, like, hard for you as a developer to know if it's good, because you know where everything is and you know all the solutions already, so, like, it's hard to know if you're doing it right, or if it's even fun to run around and explore stuff. So like one of the things about this test map I made though was I just threw a bunch of stuff together and I ran around in it. And I could like feel that it was gonna be sort of fun to like explore stuff. Because even though like there's no point for me to put this here, but just like the feeling of running around and turning a corner and seeing like this, I could feel that like being sort of fun, you know? And like I remember one thing I used to do like running around in this map that I thought was fun was like climbing all the way up here. Oh, the movement's really bad. It's like really buggy trying to walk up this slope. Like climbing all the way up here and then like dropping down here, and then I put a button here to like, I don't know, I can't explain it, but just like walking around down here and seeing a button and be like, how do I get to that button? Shush. And then being like, ah, if I climb up here, then I can like drop down. And like there's no goal in this area, but being able to run around and like mess around with things felt like a lot of fun, and so I feel like that shaped the game in a way. Yeah, I figured out the art style pretty early on. So like, yeah, I had that outline stuff. I think what I was thinking about going a more anti-chamber route where everything was flat shaded. And then I like accidentally turned off the flat shading and kept the outlines around, and I was like, wow, this looks a lot better. So then I kept it like this. Do you wish you experimented with the art style a bit more? Nah. I mean, I'm really not much of an artist. So the fact that I landed on something I was happy with at all is like, I'm happy that happened at all, kind of. It would have been cool to have a more unique art style that set it apart from like Manifold Garden or Anti-Chamber, for example, a bit more. But I'm like kind of happy with how it turned out. I don't know if I would have had the skills to really pull off anything else. Anyway, moving on. So this was like the very early smell area. This was like my gray box smell area. So like you would walk in here. You've got like the clue for the first leg of it, which I again, that sort of thing is still in the final game, but I put the clue a little bit more outside to try to clue people into the fact that they would have to find all the other clues outside of the area. I don't know if that worked so well, because I think that's one of the things that still trips people up when they play the game. But, yeah, so it used to just be boxes instead of, like, flowers and stuff. Also, you can see, I was gonna put, like, a secret here, where you had to, like, follow a different path, and you'd end up in here. I don't know, I didn't have any plans for what to put in here, so I just decided not to do that. I could have found something to put in there, but it just felt not right. I don't know. I really don't remember why I got rid of the secret area there. Sorry, I have to pet my cat for a bit. He's getting in my face. Yeah, that was the secret area that was talked about in the Dev Museum. I have like a screenshot of a spreadsheet somewhere where I like saved the final route, and I had the planned out secret route as well. Anyway, one of the cool things about this build is that I actually used portals. So like to loop you back around. So like you'd walk through this hallway and then you would just end up back at the start. I didn't like quite get the effect seamless, which is why I ended up going the route I did in the final game, which is like you just end up in a dark room and when you turn your camera around it teleports you. And the room was dark enough that, like, it's impossible to see, like, the teleportation happen. But in this, I was trying out, like, actually rendering a portal sort of thing. But yeah, so that was, like, kind of cool. It was just, like, you could really tell when you stepped through it, like, everything changed on the screen. Dude, my cat is being so annoying right now. Hold on. How does the logic of it work? What do you mean? Like, how did the programming of the portal work? Or, like, how did... I think, like this. Like, there are just a lot of invisible barriers set up around the route. So, like, you had to go... you had to go, like, this way. And then over here, and then up here. And then this way, and then across. I think the solution is, like, somewhat similar to in the final game, but it's just, like, invisible walls set up everywhere. And if you hit the invisible wall, it would be like you lost the puzzle until you, like, stepped back into this barrier. And if you lost the puzzle, then it would just, like, show or hide the like, portal volume over here. If you won, it would hide the portal and you could just walk up this way and like, walk across the bridge. Yeah. I was gonna try to do, like, an epic thing where, like, the sun was, like, right behind the button you press. I don't know. I don't think I ended up doing that, mostly because, like, the sun had to be in a different place. Like, make everything work. There were just too many other visual things for me to, like, get this framing correctly in the final game, so it just, I don't know, it didn't seem like it was worth it. Yeah, and I also, the smell effect was very lazy. All I did was, like, tint the screen. Added the wobbly stuff later on. Yeah, this one isn't that exciting. It's, like, mostly the same as the final game, except I rearranged a few things. And, like, made it a bit more concise. And obviously the art had a big improvement. This one's more interesting though. So this is the hearing. I did, like, a completely different hearing area. And it was, like, pretty finished. Like, you could play through the entire area. And I mentioned in the dev museum, though, that, like, my first attempt at this area was, like, stupidly hard. So I'm gonna play through and show you how stupidly hard it was. So first of all, in the final game you have a button you press to hear the clue. In this one you just had to walk up to it and wait for it to play. And that was very confusing to people. So, like, the sound puzzles in this game were, like, clearly inspired by The Witness. And in The Witness, it's like you walk into the area and you start hear the birds chirping, and I was like, oh, I'll just do the same thing. You walk up to a thing and it plays it. But people would, like, get really confused and just start hitting the buttons first before it could play the clue, and then no clue would play, and then they'd get confused and leave. So I was like, okay, I gotta make that more deliberate, I guess. Yeah, anyway. Moving on. So we immediately go, like, from 3 buttons to 4 buttons. And the sequences start to get really long really quickly. So you do those 2. Again, elevators are broken in this build, so I have to use no clip. And then, so we do 3 of those puzzles and we immediately get to this. Which is, like, obnoxiously long. Which, this puzzle is actually in the final game, but it's, like, sort of a mini boss puzzle. where it's like halfway through the area. And it's like supposed to be hard, and this one it's like, you can see the lights, so it's not that hard. But it's still really annoying to do that early. And then this one has the broken light, so it starts to indicate that it's like actually based on hearing. Elevators are broken again. And also the other bad part about this was that they were all pitched bass. Like there was no variance in the type of sounds you had to listen to. I think that's it, yeah. And it was just like one after the other, and people who weren't good at sound puzzles watching them play this was just the most painful thing, because they just like couldn't. Oh, so over here, so this is, or actually I'll go back to that. But that one's like a... Oh, this one's in the final game, I think. Let's see, this one. Yeah, like that was the thing I didn't understand back then. Like I had a lot of ear training, and I had like... I was like a musician all the way through high school and stuff. And so this kind of stuff was really easy for me, and I did not understand how how hard it was for some people. I still, you know, made it kind of hard for those people in the final game, but I don't know. Yeah, and then it just gets like... I think this was one of the ones I showed in like the Dev Museum. This one was kind of cool because there was like a puzzly way to figure this out. Because like their tones overlap, and so it's like ambiguous which ones are playing which tones, but the lights help you disambiguate that. That's that one, and then it was... but it's like, it was too subtle, and again, for people who weren't good at sound puzzles, I think like the reasons this was actually cool were lost on most people, so I ended up cutting this sort of thing. I did have one like double sound puzzle, but they had different tones, so it was like sort of a different thing. This one was also kind of cool. Because you can't hear the tones you play back, so you just had to... that, I guess, yeah. Yeah. I don't remember why I completely cut these, but I think it was just like... I think my logic was like, I wanted to improve upon the sound puzzles that The Witness did, and having the audio play back as you press the buttons was part of that improvement, because then you could tell like where you were going wrong, maybe. And like, even though this was like a little extra challenge, it was also reverting that improvement that I was making. So I don't know, it just didn't feel right. But it could have been cool, I'm not sure. I probably could have pulled it off with like easier, with like 3 buttons instead of 4 maybe, but I don't know. I don't know if making it easier though might have made it less interesting also. So it's hard to say. I'm glad you kept them difficult. Just because a type of puzzle is hard for some people doesn't mean it shouldn't exist. Yeah, I mean, like, that's that's the whole reason for the hearing area, almost. That's the whole reason for the piano puzzle, which I'm about to talk about, because the intent was that this area was gonna have background music, and this puzzle over here wasn't gonna play any clue, and you would have had to play like some motif from the background music, which I don't remember what the actual solution is, but there was gonna be background music that clued you into it. That ended up turning into the piano puzzle that got like its own area, because it's such a mega crazy puzzle. Yeah, that piano puzzle is kind of the result of me having to tone down the difficulty of everything, despite me being really excited about like difficult audio puzzles. And I was like, you know what? I'll tone down the difficulty of like the mandatory hearing area. But that means I'm gonna take all of that toned down difficulty and tone it back up for the piano puzzle. So you have to like play back an entire minute-long sequence on 8 keys instead of like just doing one long difficult area. You have to do one giant piano puzzle. Did you have anywhere there were 2 different instruments playing and you only had buttons for one? That's kind of interesting, and maybe you did it. I didn't do that. Well, I did, like, you know, there was this kind of thing, which was in the final game, and you do have to do each sequence separately, so it's like kind of the same thing, but I don't know. Horns and pianos playing at the same time, but you can only press horns. Your favorite song in the game? Yeah, I'm happy with how the piano song turned out. I'm glad you liked it too. Anyway, this puzzle... So this was another like thing that just didn't work, which is like, people would get here and solve this and be like, well, this is going nowhere. What do I do now? And then they would just be like, I don't understand. And the intent was that people would be like, oh, this is going like through the window up here, which I closed for some reason. Oh, you know what? I know why it's closed. But anyway, this was supposed to go up through a window, and you're supposed to be like, oh, I gotta go to the other side of that window, and then you would go back all the way back through here. And then just know that like it came down here to this door. I think like I had intended for people when they were coming up here to do this puzzle to like look and see this puzzle through it. But I don't think anyone did that, nor did they acknowledge that like nobody made the connection between these 2 areas ever. So that was just a thing that I sort of got rid of in the current hearing area. But yeah, this opens a door here. And this is the this is the first version of like the sound maze, which is it's pitch based, and also it was on a timer. And also everything, there were like invisible walls for some reason. Like there was no reason for them to be invisible, but they were. And so if you got completely lost, there was just no way to recover, really. Like it was really bad. The only way to recover was to wait for the timer to run out and like send you back to the beginning. I think I just really wanted like something like the challenge and the witness. But yeah, so I won the elevator. There was going to be an elevator that brought you up here, and you would have seen puzzles you solved and stuff. You would have gone all the way up here. Yeah, I liked the challenge in the witness, and I was like, I want that plus sound puzzles. But it was not a good idea. Nobody liked it. Except for me. And then as time passed, I was also like, no, yeah, that was bad. So these are just like the sound effects themselves. Are so obnoxious. Like, I'm so glad I switched out the sound effects, because these ones are very jarring. You like almost always have to listen to it twice. But yeah, so then you had to do like 3 of these, and then you had to do the big boss puzzle, which is like a double. It's just so much. Wait, I didn't hear it. Oh. Wait. Wait, no, I forgot. This is way too hard. Okay, it's that, yeah. And then that's it. And then something big and epic would have happened, and then the area would have been finished. And then there was another elevator down here that would bring you back down. They'd bring you all the way back to the first room. And you get to walk out. And then it would have been nice and bright, and you would have heard the hub music and felt all cozy. But actually, like, yeah, this hopefully you can see why I had to redo this entire area, because it was just tedious and super difficult and really annoying, and yeah. The window looking up at the sun again. Is there a theme of seeing the sun when you finish? No, I don't think I had that amount of foresight this early on. But yeah, I mean, like, the window to the sun is somewhat deliberate, because I wanted, like, the area is so dark and stuff. I wanted you to get up here and have some amount of sunlight where it's like, there's, like, hope. I'm, like, almost done, maybe. I wanted some kind of epic-looking structure here that indicated you were, like, you know, you were on the last leg. But the actual visual of the sun through the roof, like, no, not really that intentional. Okay, so that's that. Is there anything else I wanted to show? I don't know why I have this texture on here. Oops, I'm typing W's. Why is this here? Why do I have this? I think I was like looking up like art that had to do with 5 senses, and this was like one of the things, and I was like, maybe I can use this for inspiration for something, and then I never did. I don't think. Yeah, okay, next thing. I should try to move a little faster. I feel like I'm like stalling a lot on certain things. Oh, it's angry. Okay. Actually, no, yeah, we'll keep going chronological. Yeah. Okay, so at that point, what was happening at that point? I think like so I prototyped the smell area and I made a hearing area that I play tested and was like, okay, this is like too hard. I think that was around the point. In fact, the smell area, I'm trying to think. Like, I think the smell area actually came after the hearing area. I showed the smell area first. But after doing the hearing area was when I was like, I should make this about the 5 senses. So then I did like the smell area. And I had also started to rework in my head like what the beginning of the game would be like. And so I started working on the tutorial map, which is what this is. Actually, I'm gonna make this... I'm gonna try to make this bigger. Hopefully the frame rate doesn't explode. But yeah, this is probably fine for now. Yeah, so I started on the... I didn't really have a lot of direction when I started out the tutorial. You can see this structure though is like almost exactly the same as it was in the game. It doesn't have a roof. But yeah, it was gonna be like you start out here. And I didn't really know why. I didn't know why yet you were gonna be starting out in this structure, but I eventually like came up with an idea for that as well. But yeah, so you walk down this thing. Interesting that you didn't start out wanting to do all 5 senses. It evolved into that over time. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it evolved into that pretty quickly. But yeah, it was just gonna be a short little thing. And then, and then I was like, oh, instead of just like 3 puzzles, I should do all the senses. Oh, if I'm doing all the senses, I should have a, you know, a whole tutorial area. Oh, if I'm doing a tutorial area, I also need a finale area that also has puzzles. Oh, if the game is going to be this long anyway, I might as well add some secrets. And, oh no, the game is huge now. Yeah. One of the things, so this was like, again, I wasn't very deliberate with any of this at first, but one of the things I liked about this that sort of happened by accident was... Oh no, I'm never going to finish this. Yeah, exactly. Definitely had that feeling. One of the things I like though is when people would playtest this structure. Nobody playtested this build, but like later on when people would playtest this structure, something I really liked was playing off of people's assumption that this was like a walking simulator. Like sort of like The Witness where there's no gravity and you just walk everywhere. And people would like... They'd walk out the door and they'd do like this sort of thing and then they'd fall off. And like that... I could always see like a switch flip in their brain where they were like, oh, this is like a game, this is this kind of game, right? Like, they're like, oh, I can fall off of things. Oh, I can jump. Like, that immediately opens up so many possibilities of where you can go and stuff. And so I really liked, I did this by accident at first, but I kept this specifically because people would fall off and then be like, oh, okay. Like, I can do more than just walk around in this game. Cool. Also probably opens up so many places you're not supposed to get to. Yeah, but that's also fun. So, I let people go places. I let people out of bounds pretty easily, to be fair. Just because I think if you're trying to get out of bounds, then I might as well let them. That's sort of just my opinion. But yeah, you come around the bend, you learn how to jump, which is pretty similar to the current game. The problem with this build is there's a bug where if you're not moving, you get a little baby hop, and if you are moving, you get a higher jump. I don't remember why, but it makes this part, like, really annoying. Yeah, then you run by this door. So this is like pretty similar to the current game. In this one you hit a button. So this is a difference to the current game, which is that I put the first button here. In this one, I put the first button here. And then I teach you about AND gates here. You just do this. And then I teach you about OR gates if you decide you want to learn about OR gates, but it's like not mandatory. In the final game, I replaced OR gates with just like wires that are connected together. Because that felt simpler. I didn't really need the OR gate as a puzzle mechanic. I just ended up like merging wires together if I wanted an OR gate. But yeah, so you'd like encounter an AND gate, you'd go back here, and then that was literally it. For my first iteration of the tutorial, that was basically it. And the reason that was basically it was because, again, like, I had sort of intended for there to be a full logic gate area. Like, the logic gates weren't going to be a universal game mechanic, there was going to be a logic gate puzzle area. So early on, all I needed the tutorial to do was, like, teach you the controls. Like, walking around, jumping, and, like, clicking on stuff. And so, in terms of needing to teach people that, this was a pretty effective tutorial. Like, it did exactly what it needed to do. Really quickly, and then it just like got out of the way and let people play the game. But eventually I was like, okay, I do want the logic gates to be a more universal game mechanic, so that means I probably have to make like a logic gate puzzle tutorial area. So I went and like revisited this area, which you'll see, which took quite a bit of iteration. There's also a secret back here. If you jump on the wall and jump over. And there's this weird timer here. The intent, so like, I think the intent behind this timer was I wanted like a speedrun secret, where like at the very end of the game there was a door that would stay open until this timer had completed. As soon as the timer ran out, that door would close. So you'd have to beat the game as fast as you could to like get there before this timer closed the door. Yeah, I didn't end up doing that. I think don't remember why I cut it. I think it was just like I couldn't think of a good reward for doing that. And also I didn't want to like make something missable like that. Like if someone's trying to 100% their save and then they have this one door they can't get past, and literally the only way to get past the door is to restart, like start all over, then that is kind of annoying. So I don't know, I'd maybe do that for some other game but not this one. I had originally like wanted to do stuff like this though, because I had originally intended for the game to be a lot more cryptic. It sort of turned a lot more witnessy later on. Like a lot of the communication, like teaching the puzzles and like the puzzle language and stuff, was a lot more explicit than I had intended for it to really be early on. I kind of wanted it to be more like Myst, where it's like you really don't know what's going on most of the time. Yeah, I think that's another thing that changed for the better, maybe. Yeah, if that hadn't changed, I think that speedrun secret might have worked out. Yeah, so that was version 1 of the tutorial. Version 2 of the tutorial, again, I'd like thought, okay, I need to teach logic gates in the actual tutorial. So, hang on, where is it? Hub? Yeah, hub. So actually wait, which one is this? Tutorial V2 Insight. Actually, yeah, hold on, let's take a detour first. This is gonna be really quick, because this is like the beginning of the site area. It looks very close to what the final game looked like from the outside. But this really early map, I like didn't have any ideas, so most of the rooms are empty. I had sort of like a vague idea of what I wanted though. Just like visit all these rooms and do site puzzles, and then like the final thing up here was that you had to like look out the window and see which doors were open. And that idea I liked a lot, so of course I kept it in the final game. Yeah, this is very close to the final game. Some of these puzzles over here were very different though. So like I had this grid on the wall. And over here you had to like stand in the corner and then you could see the solution with like the way these floating cubes lined up. So that would be that. And then I think on the other side, I didn't quite finish this one, but I wanted something similar over here where like the pillars would like kind of block out which things you needed to hit, and like the cracks in the like the hole in the wall would have like framed a solution or something. It was too hard to like get that one working in a non-contrived way though, so I just yeah, didn't do that. And then I think like I wanted another puzzle in here that like combined these two solutions somehow, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't get that far. This one's exactly the same. This one I kept. The one where there's like a whole a window up there. And then there was going to be an easy puzzle in here so that you wouldn't notice the stuff over here, and you would have had to like... Yeah, like that's the reason the in the final game this room had the shadow puzzles, and that one is so easy because I wanted people to like not look around the room constantly and like accidentally find the stairs. I wanted people to like deliberately think about this hole in the wall up here and like have to jump up here and look. Yeah, so that's why the shadow puzzle's so easy. Nothing in there. I don't think anything's in here yet either. Yeah. I think all these rooms are also empty. Oh, it's not empty. It has a NOT gate for some reason. Why does it have a NOT gate? It's a mystery. Oh, this is a cool thing. So I talked about the problem of being able to frame the puzzle while you're inputting the solution. And so I had this like, you could right click to move the cursor around the screen without moving the camera. I got rid of that though in the final game because nobody knew it existed and nobody used it. I was like, whatever, I guess I'll simplify and just keep it with like these controls. But yeah, so that's the site area as it started out. Pretty close like in structure to the final area, so you can probably see like the iteration on this was pretty straightforward. It's just a matter of coming up with like all the right ideas and stuff. How did you come up with the in-game menu puzzle? Oh, like the trailer one? So that was originally, that originally didn't have a clue. It was just like, you would have had to sort of stumble upon the trailer to find it. Which is like an artifact of what I mentioned before, where I wanted the game to be a lot more cryptic than it was. And that puzzle was an idea I had early on that didn't really evolve with the rest of the game. So I thought like, oh, it'd be cool if the trailer just had a puzzle solution in it, and you couldn't find that solution anywhere else. Which would have worked in like a super cryptic, mysterious game, but the game kind of stopped being that later in development, and I didn't think about that. So that one I actually had to patch. And I added in the clue. The way I came up with doing it through the menu was that, like, one of the complaints about it was that, like, it's not future-proof. Like, the game can't stand on its own. Like, you need YouTube to beat the game. So I was like, okay, to solve that problem, I'll include the trailer in the game. So I, like, need to put the trailer in some menu. And then once it was in a menu, I was like, oh, I can make, like, a cryptic sort of glyph that points to the menu buttons you have to click to get to it, or something. I figured it out in, like, a day or two after the complaints. I still feel like that one was pretty rough, but maybe I played pre-patch. When you played, did you have the clue on the back of that puzzle, or was there no clue? Because you might have played pre-patch. Did you play before or after Jonathan Blow played it? Because that was... it was his feedback was what sort of changed it. Because he was the only one... Like, I had playtested that puzzle with people too, and, like, it was 50-50 people being like, oh, that's funny and clever. Another 50% were like, that's actually terrible. But the people who thought it was terrible did not articulate why they thought it was terrible, and I was like, yeah, that's acceptable that you think it's terrible. But then, like, Jonathan Blow played it, and he was the only one who was really able to articulate why it didn't fit in the game, and I was like, you're absolutely right, I'm going to change it. Even with the clue, it was probably top 5 hardest puzzles for me. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's an optional puzzle, so it was supposed to be hard. Any sort of, like, meta puzzle like that in a game that's mostly not meta is probably going to be pretty hard. I wonder where the piano puzzle ranks for you, because I feel like that's that's like the hardest one for most people. Anyway, so back to the tutorial though. So then so this is like early tutorial where I upgraded it to also teach logic gates. So this is the same. I added a roof, but this ramp is the same. I guess I did some player movement code changes because walking over these, like, changes in slope is very jittery. Feels real bad. I added a prompt to jump, I guess. Which I later realized was completely unnecessary because everybody knows how to jump in a first-person game. It's always space. Told people to click on stuff, which again was unnecessary because, like... Actually, when I moved the first button in here, even if people... Like, there was nothing anybody could try that wasn't, like, clicking the glowing blue square, right? So it just made sense not to have prompts like that. It was kind of cheesy to add prompts like this, I felt like. Yeah, no, puzzle took a while, but the solution was never in question. Yeah, that's true. Piano puzzle was the only one you cheated on. Yeah, that's fair. That's, like, allowed. I don't blame people who cheated on the piano puzzle. So I added the delay to the logic gates finally. No animation yet, but there is a delay. So I wanna point out the flow of, like, how this stuff gets taught. So you learn how to click buttons. You learn about AND gates. You immediately learn a new button type, which plays a weird sound that you don't know why it plays that sound. Can't get through there. You learn about this gate type. Then you have a puzzle that combines all of the things you've learned, quote-unquote, so far. Also, this, like, the delay is inconsistent. Like, some things are still instant and some aren't. it's weird. But yeah, so then you go in here, you find a new thing that's a triangle. You press this button, you have to like run through this door, then click this. And then like, and then you learn about a new thing. And then you, like, you can probably see how bad this is. Like, how bad this tutorial is. Like, I just keep throwing things at people that are really easy to brute force and get past. So that was basically what people would do. They would just click random stuff until, like, something lit up and then a door would open. And then they would, like, they'd just go and then they'd get out here and there was just, like, a ton of stuff they needed to do. And yeah, so like, first attempt at logic gate tutorialing was not great. Especially this one's like extra. So these are like OR gates, in case you didn't know. I like changed the mesh for the OR gate. You have to turn that off and then you do this. Yeah. You never have to click this button. This puzzle is still in the game, though. I'd put it here. This one is kind of funny. You like click this and a timer starts. And you have to like click this button, but you can't reach it. So what you have to do is like click it and then run. Over here. And click this before it runs out. One of the things about this though is that people didn't see you could go this way. So I was eventually like, oh, I'll make this a secret path actually, instead of making you have to go do this. And that's where you find the thing that activates the trees in the park. Yeah, so that was my first attempt at a logic gate puzzle tutorial. It was not good. I threw too much at people, it was too brute forceable. People would beat it, no problem, but then I'd be like, okay, what did you learn there? And they'd be like, I do not know. I don't know what I just did or why. I was like, okay, fair play. Are there any secrets? I don't think there are any secrets. I think I was thinking about putting like... I think I was thinking about doing something like this, where you stand here and click that. I don't think you can reach it actually. Something like that, where then it would push you up here, and then I was gonna make a secret over here, but I don't know. I didn't end up doing that. I probably should have. There's some secrets in the final game that like are not that good. And something cooler like that, where you like ride one of these doors up here and do a secret thing over there, that would have been a lot cooler. They seem very easy to accidentally solve. Yeah, definitely. Unless you, so like, combinatorial logic puzzle, so like these where the inputs directly correspond to the output, those are very easy to brute force. Once you start adding state, like adding these things, it's easier to make a puzzle that's less brute forceable. But it's still kind of hard, for sure. I learned to press buttons until things solve, yeah, pretty much. So I was like, okay, I need to change things. So here's V3, tutorial V3. We'll see what did I try to do to change it. I definitely tried some things, but was it Was it effective? The fact that there's a V4 and then also the final game probably indicates that I did not succeed. Also this opening this this one gives me a bunch of like texture errors, so this one's probably gonna look a little funny. Yeah, so anyway, resize this again. Yeah, it's a little buggy.
Get lost.
This does not have its texture. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Yeah, so I moved this button here in the building, which I think was a good decision, because like being locked in until you learn how to click things, I feel like I still had this. I hadn't realized the little prompt was unnecessary yet, but yeah. Yeah, this yard was the same. There's nothing to do in here. In the final game, there's like a button here, but I mean, we'll get there. There's a door here, which is weird. Oh, this one has some movement bugs. I forgot. This build is like very annoying to play because it has some really annoying bugs. Yeah, then you got a complicated looking thing here. Start with the AND gates. Then you got two AND gates chained together. I guess I was trying to drill home a bit more things. I think so. Watching people play the previous build, I was like, okay, I'm throwing things at people too fast. I need to spread things out a bit more. So that's why I added this, like... I had, like, the chained AND gates together. I'm like, you can chain, you know, it goes this way. Sure. There's a window here. I don't know if that window is actually helpful. Still had the timer thing. Trying some different places to put it. See, I didn't introduce this well. I was like, ah yes, this is the place where I introduced this, but it just looks like a door control. Nobody paid attention to this at all. They would just click the button, see the door open, and be like, ah, yep. And so that, like, this was supposed to introduce this, and then this was supposed to test your knowledge on this. But again, this is another case where it was, like, too much too fast. Something about this puzzle, though, is, like, if you click this button first, and then you're like, oh, I have to do this. Then you're screwed. Because you don't have parity, so you have to, like, turn this off and then click this. But yeah, this like wasn't a good puzzle. So this one just like got cut. Gotta head out, but this has been interesting. Thanks for sharing. No problem. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna like cut this together and put it on YouTube as well. So if you decide you want to watch the rest, you can like check it out on YouTube. Probably. Yeah, so then this, you click this button. I don't know. Like, this one, I almost feel like this one's worse than the previous one. Oh, there was also a shortcut door here that confused people so much. Like, nobody realized that, like, oh, I walked out this way and around, and then they would open this door and be like, where the hell am I? And they'd be like, is this new? Like, nobody had the spatial awareness to know that this was like a shortcut door. And so I was eventually like, yeah, no more shortcut door. What do you call the blue things out of interest? I usually call them toggles, but like, or like toggle gates. But I think latches make more sense. Or like flip-flops would be more accurate to like the I think the closest thing they are to a real life digital logic is like a T flip-flop. I don't know. They're actually inspired by like the toggle chip in LBP2 though. So that's why I call them toggles. Even though I also started working on this in my senior year of like a computer engineering degree, so I don't know why why the LBP2 name would take priority over the computer engineering name. I think that says a lot about my priorities. But yeah, so I think my plan in this tutorial was like, I'm throwing too much at people. I'm going to introduce less. And that was really it. Like, I didn't care about making people understand. I just tried to lessen the amount people had to understand. So coming out here, there were no more OR gates. And I like tried to make more puzzles that had to do with the same concepts. So like, here's where I introduced the NOT gate. I tried to do a thing where like you click this to see this wire turn off, and then you unclick it to see it activate this thing. Like, I don't know, it just didn't work. Nobody made the connection, because again, they just clicking the button is what activated the thing, and so that's all they would do. They'd just be like, clicking button works. They would just click buttons until stuff worked. Oh yeah, here is where I tried to teach that you could right click, but again, nobody remembered it was a thing. This being around the corner was kind of cool. Like, you had to... I think this was like a valiant effort to like make people understand things too, because they would have to look at it and then click the buttons over here, remembering what they looked at. But 3 buttons is still so brute forceable that like, I don't know, I don't think it helped. Tried some timer puzzles. This is kind of a funny puzzle. You have to like, you have to click the button within the right, like, span of time. This one I still kept. We had to like run around. Just gonna skip it. Yeah, and that was that attempt. Yeah, I don't think this was an improvement. I don't remember what I was thinking at this point about what I needed to improve, but I did try something else. Go away. Hold on, let's see what I changed. I did at least like the environment and the architecture of the tutorial. Like, I didn't change that all that much. Like the general flow of like where you're walking around and stuff. I kept that pretty similar. Yeah, you can see every time I open up one of these projects, you can see some new stuff that I was like programming and messing around with. But we'll get to those. We'll get to those after I'm done looking at the tutorials. Hey, Booker. Alright, so this is attempt number 4.
There has been an accident.
Hey, Pig Detective, thanks for the raid. I'm like an hour and a half into into like going over old Sensorium builds, so you're kind of joining in the middle, but if you haven't played Sensorium, you should play it. This is also a little spoilery, so if you haven't played it, then yeah, just be cautious. Not heard of this? Oh, it's a game I made. It came out 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. This is like largely what I was working on, like pre-Dreams stuff. Saw Acert stream it. Oh yeah, I forgot he streamed it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going over like how a bunch of early builds basically, and how the design changed like in that time, because it's Blocktober and that's like the perfect time to be going over old builds of things. So yeah. Anyway, this is like, I was just going through all of my attempts for the tutorial area for like actually teaching people stuff effectively. We're currently on to attempt number 4. Out of 5. I think attempt number 5 is what made it into the final game. Yeah, we're gonna look at attempt number 4. So you got the button, which opens the door, which is cool. Again, I think this is something I did right. You have the ramp as always. This shortcut door I still didn't get rid of, it looks like. This thing confused everybody. Still have the space prompt. I still have the buggy, like, jumping. Oh wait, no I don't. I fixed the jumping. You can actually, like, jump high. That's good. Still have this confusing sort of setup. I kept the AND gate flow. I kept the window here. I did figure out that, like, this was a terrible way to teach about the toggle gates, so that's good. I don't know why I put a window here. I don't really know what I had intended for people to see. I guess there's a window there. This being even closer to the door you actually have to go through, though, meant people were even more confused. So they'd walk around this way and be like, I don't know where I am. Why is it telling me to jump again? And they'd get to like here and they'd be like, wait a second. I've been here before. So yeah, not a good shortcut door. Bad shortcut door placement. Anyway, you go in here. And then right off the bat you can see it like kind of gets too complex too quickly already. Like, I don't know, I think having 2 of these in the same place in a T-shape is not very clear, like what the flow of the electronics is. But nonetheless, you can open the door. I guess this window's here so you can see. I mean, it's not... You can't really, like, I don't know, unless you're standing here, you can't really see the effects of the button, so that's kind of weird. I guess this was maybe something I was gonna polish later, or something. I don't know. It's like, it makes sense if you're standing here, but you're probably gonna be, like, here. So there's no visibility, really. The shortcut door, I guess. I brought back this puzzle one more time. I slightly adjusted it so you would be more likely to click this and get stuck. Because I think I wanted people to get stuck so they would try to understand what was going on. But it's still... I don't know, I think people still got really confused here. Or like, I don't know, it still was not effective. Yeah. We got this. This at least was pretty clear, where people were like, where's the wire go? Oh, it goes out there. I guess I will go out there also. Sounds like you've learned a lot over the years. I would like to think so, but... I mean, a lot of this... I feel like if I made another game, I would still have to go through the same iteration. Because I think, no matter how much you know, it's always valuable to get, like, player feedback on stuff. Oh, so this seems pretty deliberate. So I clearly wanted people to do things in a certain order. So I angled them towards this puzzle first. I obscured this puzzle with like this block, and also like this puzzle over here with this block. So I was like, I definitely want people to go here first. I can see that much. So here's where I taught about the NOT gate. So I taught about the NOT gate again. I don't know why I liked when these were around the corner. I don't know why I moved them back. It must have been a playtesting thing. It might actually, I might have realized that like when people are new to these NOT gates, it's good to see them react to like the button presses. That's probably what it was. Like having them around the corner made it less clear what was happening here, probably. Yeah, I think maybe this was the correct decision. Another game, Sensorium 2? No. Are you even allowed to work on other games anymore? Probably as long as I don't sell them. I don't actually know exactly what the contract states. I can make stuff in dreams. So I assume that means I can make other games that I don't sell. But yeah. This is not a good puzzle for like reasons I've already said earlier, which is like if you click the button twice, you win. And nobody sits here and tries to understand how this works. They just click the button, they see things light up, and they're like, okay, I win. They don't see understanding as the win state, they see light up as the win state. I still had this puzzle. And yeah, this tutorial still did not work. It was slightly better, but it still did not work. People still got to the end here and were like, I can't really explain what these are doing. I can't really explain, like, why any of this is here. Like, everyone was still just really confused, and it still felt like people were getting a lot thrown at them. And not able to retain all of it. You have to push the top button first, then jump down. I mean, if you press this first and then jump down, then it's like, you have to release it, and then it's not activating this half anymore. So like, that's what would happen. If that button were blue, that would have been a good solution, but... Especially, like, if I'd made this timer shorter and I made this button blue, then maybe it would have been cool. But yeah, so... One of the things I learned from this, though, was that, A, this timer is intuitive enough that I don't need to put this in the tutorial area. I can just have this come up when it comes up and people will understand what's going on. Because it's so clear. Like, from the sound effect and the animation, and like the wire that comes out of it, it's like very clear what it's doing. Assuming you understand the basics of the other gates. So I was like, okay, I can cut this puzzle to simplify things, for sure. The other thing I realized, I'm gonna go back to this game, the live game. What would be a good one to load? Actually, I'll just run over there. Gonna bunny hop to go faster. The other thing I realized was I had playtested... I had realized in my playtesting with this one other puzzle. I'll get there soon. I had realized people were actually like pretty good at intuiting what the blue gate was doing as well. Because without tutorializing people and stuff, I had them play this puzzle, which is like pretty complicated, but people were like messing around with it, seeing how these things worked. And they like, by the end of this puzzle, they had figured out these blue gates. Without having to play through the tutorial that like I was just going through. Like people were able to do this whole thing without actually, like, doing any blue gate tutorial stuff. And so I was like, that's interesting. Maybe I don't actually need to teach people this blue stuff in the very first tutorial. And so, like, you know, this isn't an old build, but I'll just show you what the final version of the tutorial ended up being. So, button at the start, no prompt, because again, what else are you gonna do that isn't clicking this button, right? No need to tell people to click something if that's all they can do. Got a little more art, of course, but same ramp, same jumping tutorial. No complicated stuff over here, like that's just unnecessary. And gate. Chained and gates. But then I really drive it home, I'm like, okay. You know that clicking buttons is good. You don't see the button, but you do see a wire coming out here. So I'm trying to tell people, like, this is how you read these logic gate puzzles. You have to, like, see what's connected into certain things and figure out those conditions. And so I needed people to be like, that's somewhere. And then, like, run back over here. And be like, ah, yeah, there it is. And then they hear the door open and stuff. Then you like run over there. Oh, side note, something else that's cool about this that I like intended was like, you can skip this really easily. Like you can just jump over this wall. But what you're skipping by jumping over the wall is the jumping tutorial. So I was like, yeah, I'll let people skip things by using knowledge they would have gained by going the other way. But yeah, anyway, so at this point, this is like some design I'm really proud of. At this point, every single button you've clicked leads to a door opening. So this long straightaway towards a button, every single person who plays this is like, yeah, I'll click the button. They click it. They're like, alright, click the button, click the button, click the button. And then they're like, I'm stuck. I can't do it. And this is like one of the important details that wasn't making any of the other attempts at tutorials work. Which is that like I wasn't making people stuck until they understood what was going on. So what I did here to teach the NOT gate is intentionally make someone like turn it off first by running over here and clicking the button. Because I also put this pillar here so they couldn't even see it. Like, so they'd click the button to turn it off, and they would have to realize in order to turn it back on, they have to, like, unclick the button. And, like, that works really well in practice. Like, everyone who plays through this area, like, understands what this does. And they realize they have to unclick this button, because every single person, like, clicks the button first. And then you get here, and then to like really drive home the NOT gate thing, I give them like an actual logic gate puzzle. So they like click this and see it turns off. And they gotta click the ones that like don't turn things off. And then you got the wire that lights up, and then they follow the wire, and you get out here, you get a big door. Again, you have AND gates and NOT gates and the blue switches. Same over here. So I both simplified like what was actually being taught in the tutorial. Like it's only 3 things really. Only like 2 gates and a button type. And I make sure people like really understand that, because that's the foundation that helps them learn other things. Yeah. And then the other thing I did, hold on. No, I don't need music right now. So I did keep a blue like toggle gate tutorial around, it's just like over here now. So you learn about the yellow gates, not being able to open this thing. And then a similar thing happens when you're like, maybe I have to hold the door open, but then when you let go, you see the door stays open. You're like, oh, is it this thing? Maybe. This is like a silly optional puzzle. And then this is like the good, this is the one I keep bringing up, that like this super old puzzle that survived into the final game. Because this is a good like toggle gate puzzle. It like demonstrates really well what they actually do. And just the, like, just those few puzzles alone, like, demonstrate really well, like, what these are for. And the fact that you've already learned about, like, the AND gates and the NOT gates makes it, like, not overwhelming when you get here and have to learn about, like, a couple new things. Because once you're out of the tutorial, you can go pretty much anywhere. So usually, not a lot of people go here first and then, like, do that. So it's like... yeah, I don't know. I think the tutorial stuff turned out really, really well. It only took, like, 5 full tries of, like, rebuilding the entire tutorial area. But sometimes that's just how it be. Alright, anyway, so we saw the first map, like the logic gate puzzle map, prototype thing. We saw hearing and smell, we saw sight. This build has taste. So taste looks completely different to how it does in the final game. This is like what the building looks like. I don't know why I started over here. Yeah. So the building looks kind of interesting, but I'll play through it and you'll see, again, like, has a lot of problems compared to the current game. Yeah, so you walk in, it tells you to click a thing. Cursor changes. And then you go here and there are three buttons. Again, at this point, I hadn't quite figured out that, like, 3 buttons is so brute forceable that it's just not a good way of teaching anything. And so people would like click a button, they'd see the door open and be like, oh yeah. And you'll notice how I didn't even like, this is the flow I wanted. You would walk in here, you would like learn how to click this thing to change the cursor. What I wanted is for you to walk in here and click this and see a yellow thing. And then like click these and find, oh, this is the yellow one, and then click that button. Nobody did that. Everybody would walk in, click a bunch of buttons, see a door open, and then just go through. And same here. Because this has the same, you know, problem. This one's green, so to do the green you have to like combine yellow and blue, I think. Yeah. That was supposed to be the tutorial for the taste area, like this sequence. This was another thing I think I did way better in the final game, which I can show really quickly. Non-torial, yeah. Yeah, so in the final game, it works like this. You walk in, tells you to eat the thing. You get a bunch of icons that are much bigger and easier to see, which is nice. And then you turn over here and you see, like, a bunch of things. You see an empty thing. I put signs on these so you don't actually have to click these. I think the biggest difference is that, like, the thing with the sign that points at, like, the thing that gets pointed at that you need to click is part of the first puzzle rather than being, like, rather than just being a standalone thing like this. I actually point to, like, the solution of the first puzzle. And I make the first puzzle have 6 inputs instead of 3. So you just, like, do this. And then, like, that's how you learn, like, what is expected of you in this area. It's like, you gotta eat this first. I also, like, placed this thing closer to you as you enter each room, rather than, like, these things first. So you eat the thing, you make what it wants you to make. Yeah. The thing I didn't quite figure out is, this. There's, like, an in-progress bowl of food. Like, everybody figured out how to do this, and then, like, click the buttons to make the mixture that's supposed to match this. Everybody understood that. Very few people understood that you could, like, see what your current mixture is by, like, eating this one. Like, that all of the wires are feeding into. I never quite figured out how to, like, clue people into that. But it felt optional enough that I wasn't too worried about it. But I still do wonder, like, what would have been a good idea there. Anyway. So the puzzles themselves. I had, like, 3 that were just color dots. The first one was just 1 color dot. This one had 2 color dots separately. This one mixed the color dots together, so you had to make yellow and blue to make green. And then you would, like... Yeah, it was weird. There were, like, these 2 floors, and you would walk up between... Or there were these 2 buildings, and you would walk up each floor, like, between the 2 buildings. Which was, like, kind of cool, but also... It got very samey. That's, like, the biggest reason I redesigned all the architecture for this area. Was because just, like, these flat, open floors were not fun to explore. Alright, so here we got the cake puzzle. I hadn't made the signs yet, so you actually just had to click on every single one of these. Which was a huge pain. So this door was blocked, it's behind a window, so you had to do this puzzle. 2. I guess this is a math one. 2. Hold on, I don't remember the solution. 22 would be like this, right? Yeah. This is probably the Roman numeral one. Yeah, so I gotta make 10, 2, 3, 5, yes. In the final game I riff on the Roman numeral adding 1, and I add like a little NOT gate in somewhere so you can't choose one of the options. That makes the math easier. I think I do that in all of the areas except smell, I guess. There's always like one puzzle where like logic gates are thrown into the mix and it like messes with the puzzle. So like in the hearing area there's the logic gate listening one. In taste it's the NOT gate one. In sight it's like the white logic gates. In touch I guess logic gates are used in a lot of places. Mostly in like the final puzzle I guess in the area. Oh god, the cursor is so small, like this is... That's not it. That is... No... Probably? Yeah. Probably. Oh, it's open. Yeah, making the cursor bigger was very important. You still have your beta test version. The beta is actually like pretty close to the final game, all things considered. All these builds are like quite old. Oh, the flower one. Okay. Not that. So these had a really annoying... They had a really annoying, like, flow. This one I just remembered the solution. I didn't... But, like, yeah, running back and forth between these and clicking them is, like, kind of annoying. I think in the final game I had one puzzle where you had to do that didn't have the signs. So you had to, like, run back and forth and click things and, like, remember where things were and stuff. I think one was enough. Having the whole area like that just was really annoying. Interesting structure here. Oh, this is the audio one, right? Yes. Just this one. Oh, this is the... So I had this idea really early on, the joke cake puzzle. I think, yeah, you have to combine the F and the L. I think this far back, this wasn't even going to be the last puzzle. There was going to be like one more actual boss puzzle that was like kind of hard. I think I was planning on combining like I think I was combining like shapes and sounds. But when I tried that, I think I realized that like they constrained each other instead of making it harder. It like made it easier to have sounds and shapes. So I ended up just cutting that. But yeah, I also realized like as I was redesigning the area, the puzzles were like a lot easier than the other senses. So I figured it made sense to end the area on a joke puzzle instead of like a super hard boss puzzle. So that's why I made like the cake one last. One with the E gone. I felt like that closed out the area a lot better than like a hard taste puzzle would have. But yeah, again, the thing about like the architecture here was like all of the floors were very samey, and it was very linear. It wasn't very fun to explore. So even though the taste puzzle in the final game is still pretty linear, it's just like there's enough variety that it doesn't really feel that linear. It still feels like you're kind of exploring and stuff. So yeah. Okay, I have one more build. It is, I think it's the touch area. It's like an early-ish version of the touch area. It's not as early as some of these other maps I'm showing. It does still pretty closely resemble the final area, but it has some differences that are kind of interesting. I'll show that, and then we're closing in on 2 hours. Didn't really expect this stream to take this long. I've been like sitting there explaining so much stuff, but yeah, I guess it makes sense. Oh yeah, I started putting the map together in this build, or I made a lot of progress putting the map together in this build. Is there a little button here? I think I had intended for like some way of jumping over here and then running around and going through like this little tunnel area and then like shimmying across here and getting to this button somehow, but I don't know what the button was gonna do. I did that all the time throughout development. I would find a little nook that you could platform to or something, and I was like, I'm just gonna stick a button here and figure it out later. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I figured out the secret stuff relatively late. Like, I knew I wanted secrets, I just didn't know what they would lead to for a while. You had some very different touch puzzles. Yeah, so I unfortunately don't have an interesting map that had the dev room puzzles in them. Like, basically what I did was I had made like an area with red floor here, and those puzzles that are in the dev museum, I had like designed them all out in a row here. And then I was like, you know what, I don't want that. Like, I don't want those I don't want those to be the touch mechanic. And so I just scrapped them and I started building an area with like push blocks instead. So those puzzles that are in the dev museum, they never actually had their own area, even though they were going to. I just never got around to building the area that they would have gone in. So I don't have an old build where I can like explore something. Yeah, so this has the figured out tutorial. The actually good tutorial gameplay. I hadn't figured out the secrets yet, so I just put something here. Let's see. Actually, you know, wait. I have to see something. Did I actually just... where the timer puzzle was going, I literally just like plugged it up with a wall. I just stuck a wall there and was like, no, it's a secret now. It's funny. Right, anyway, we were gonna look at touch. I think that's where the loading trigger is. This area looks so weird, like wide open like this. Like there's a building you can walk through in the final game that's over here, but in this one it's just wide open. There's no architectural detail or anything. This is also just a big block instead of a Christmas tree type thing. I always liked this, that like you're actually so close to just finishing the area, but you're on the wrong side of the cube. Anyway, so I think this puzzle's the same as the final game, but the blocks do not move in like a snappy fashion. They float very slowly. So this was different. In this build, you could solve this puzzle twice, like once with each block, to open both doors. So like if I swap out this block for this one, now I have two doors I can go through. In the final game, this door is like locked on the other side and there's a secret over here. In this build, so this all kind of resembles the final game, except for the fact that there's no lighting. And these two pillars are here, which could soft lock you, which was also extremely annoying. I don't know why I did that. Over here, there's just a completely different puzzle, though, that got completely cut. how to do... Yeah, so I think I have to swap... I have to get this block over there, and I think to do that, you have to push this block. No, it'll get stuck if I do that. So you have to go like this. And go this way. And this. And I can go like this now. So walking over these things is very annoying because I still hadn't figured out. It's like still kind of annoying in the final game. But it's not as annoying as it is right now. You get like very stuck on it. Oops, did I mess up? No, I didn't mess up. So you stick that back there. Push this over here. Boom. Gotta go, but I'll check out the stream on YouTube later. Alright, thanks for stopping by. Okay. Oh yeah, you had to do both halves of this. You actually... So I think in one iteration of this I made it so you could choose which side you wanted to do. But then I was like... I think most people went and tried to do both halves anyway. So I made it... I don't remember which came first, but... Eventually what I decided was the area was too long anyway. Like, it was much longer than all the other areas, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna cut this half. So you only have to do this half. Once you got through here, the puzzle that's currently a secret puzzle was just here. So this used to be a mandatory puzzle, the one where you had to, like, figure out these... the toggles. Which I don't really know how to do. I guess I kind of know how to do it. I think you... do something like this? Yeah, I think this works. No, it doesn't work. I think I have the wrong parody. Alright, whatever, I have no clip. This puzzle's the same. I don't think I have to do this. Again, you just like push this block. Whee! It's a lot more satisfying in the final game because like the blocks move a lot snappier. I feel like these elevator controls are slightly different so you don't hit a bad cycle. This puzzle is the same. I think the surrounding puzzles are different here. I think in this room? Yeah, okay. So... So this is the first room you go into. There are no railings here also. And you have to do this puzzle. This really annoying endgame puzzle. If I were to ever remaster Sensorium, I think I would like... I would move this puzzle to like a secret area in the touch area, and I would replace the taste touch endgame puzzle, which is basically this. I think I would replace it with like something new. Because I think I have a better idea for what that should be, but I don't want to like patch the original game. Yeah, I mean the whole premise is that you have to like swap the wired cubes with the non-wired cubes. And you do that. It's like, that's like a super hard puzzle, like everyone gets really stuck on that. You do this like you would in the normal game. And then I think the difference here is that, ooh, some Z fighting here. It's fun. This 3D puzzle, and the two 3D puzzles come one after another instead of like having this 3D puzzle in one room and then this 3D puzzle in the other room, like it is in the final game. But again, this area was already like sort of too long, so I just decided to cut some stuff / move it to other places. But yeah, this is the same. You have to use the reset switch. It didn't have the puzzle here to teach about like resetting with the toggle gate. I did have the smell clue over here. And then this final puzzle. I think this puzzle was largely the same. I think the only difference is like I added a gap here so you could like push blocks out instead of like I used to have it stuck up against the wall here. And the problem with that was like it was really easy to get stuff stuck. And then you had to reset the entire puzzle. And this is such a long puzzle that like having to reset stuff got really annoying. And yeah, I changed like a little bit of stuff over here for sort of that reason. To like make the puzzle shorter. I think it was even longer than like it ended up being in the final game, which is crazy because it's already a long puzzle. Yeah, I'm not gonna solve it because it's like the solution is largely the same. It's just like you need to take a couple extra steps, I think, which are kind of unnecessary. But yeah, no clipping through the door. And you push this block out. Yeah, I hadn't started the end game in this build, so you can see that he's just on a solid platform. If I like fly down here. I guess I had planned for the elevator thing, that's why this is here, maybe. Well, if I turn off... Yeah, if I make it unlit, is this hollow? Yeah, it is hollow. So yeah, I had planned for the elevator. Just hadn't started it yet. I think most of the game was like kind of done at this point. Yeah, like the side area is mostly done. The hearing area had been redone at this point. Oh wait, no! There is something cool about the hearing area. One of the sound mazes. I'm gonna do that real quick. Yeah, okay, so in here. So this like resembles the final game quite a bit. Like you have the double puzzle. You have the logic gate puzzle. But this maze. So in the final game, the maze is like you're in like a square room with like 4 choices for where you can go. And it's like really simple, and you drop into a pit that brings you to the next room, and then you like do that a bunch of times until you get to the end. What I had originally tried was like making it an actual maze. So you'd have to go through this maze, following the floor tiles. But one of the interesting things was that I used the portals that I showed earlier on to make it a, like, non-Euclidean maze. So if you went the wrong way, you would have just, like, ended up seamlessly in, like, sort of a loop instead of ever hitting a dead end. Like, the whole point of this was gonna be, like, there are no dead ends, you just, like, seamlessly end up back at the start. Except for this dead end, I guess. But yeah, I guess, like, again, I couldn't make the portals look seamless enough. And I was like, you know what, it would just be worth it. Like, I don't know, it wasn't worth it to, like, half-ass the effect. I wanted it to be, like, perfect, and it was too hard to get it perfect, so I just, so I ended up redoing it and doing the thing that's in the final game. This way? This way? Yeah, and then I was happy with this idea too, where it lights up one way, but the sound is telling you to go a different way. But yeah. Yeah, I thought that was a cool idea. I think that would have been cool to, like, if the final game had worked that way. It was just kind of too hard to get it to work flawlessly, and I would have rather gotten something 100% than, like, half-ass a cool effect. But yeah, space is very cube-like in this build. Is there anything else cool? Oh, this puzzle over here used to look very different. This puzzle used to have, like, in the final game it just has doors popping up with, like, some AND gate and NOT gates that you have to solve quickly as timers are counting down. In this one, the timers are all integrated into just one big puzzle. You do this, and then that, and then this, and then this. No, this. Wait. No, I don't. Yeah, it's. It's so hard to read. I kind of wish I'd kept this puzzle, actually. I think the simpler one is too simple. I think I felt like this was too inelegant. But I don't know. I think it might be better, actually. Than the current one, even though it's, like, scary. Wait, what do I do? What do I do? Help! Aw. Yeah, it's certainly more challenging. It is doable, though. Like, especially if you... I think the intent was I wanted people to read this and, like, memorize the inputs that they would have had to do to, like, get everything working instead of, like, quickly, like, improvising everything. Is there anything in here? No. I still hadn't figured secrets out. Is there anything in here, though? Nope. It's also empty. Is there anything in here? Definitely not. No dev museum. There's no piano puzzle either yet. It's the big empty cave. Yeah, I feel like that's everything I wanted to show. Don't really know how to close out this stream. Lesson learned, I think... Well, there were a lot of lessons learned. But yeah, hopefully that was interesting. Hopefully, I don't know. I think it's cool to peek back and see how things changed, because I feel like some people often just assume games come out great first try, and they take for granted, like, how some of the design works. They don't realize that you often have to try, like, a lot of different stuff before you get it right. And yeah. What's in the yes folder? What yes folder? This one? I am not sure and I don't want to click on it because I'm worried. What is in the yes folder? I don't know. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna edit this together and put it on YouTube. Or I don't know, what do you think? Do you think I should edit this and put it on YouTube, or should I just upload in full? I feel like I should edit it. Or I should try, but I don't know what I would edit out, really. Edit both? I'm not gonna do both. Yeah, I don't know. I'll try editing it, and if it feels like there's not a lot to be edited, then I might just upload the whole thing. Or I'll save it as a highlight, so it never goes away. So the highlight will be on Twitch, and then I'll try to upload, like, I'll edit it for YouTube or something. Well, 2 hours is gonna be a lot to edit, but it's worth it, maybe. Okay. Yeah, I'll try to edit it. We'll see what happens. Yeah. The end. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna go now. Remember to play Sensorium. If you haven't played it and you're still watching the stream, I don't even... I mean, I guess go buy it. It's gonna be on sale for the fall sale, whenever that is, and for the winter sale, whenever that is. And probably the spring sale, whenever that is. And also probably the summer sale, whenever that is. And again, every year, forever. Probably. Alright. I'm stalling. Goodbye.